Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video I would like to give my impressions of a game written by someone else. The name of the game is Delve. The person who made the game is called Loressa, or at least that's their handle in itch.io. I don't know the person, so I don't know whether that's their real first name or whether that's just the handle that they use in this context. I shall start by reading you the blurb. Your resume resembles a graveyard strewn with dead projects, killed career opportunities and shattered dreams. You're not sure how you'll pay rent, let alone buy dinner, and so you jump at the chance for a job interview, no matter how weird it may be. A surreal point-and-click narrative-based game about the struggles of focusing and how sometimes to go forwards we have to go back and delve. So from that blurb, you would probably get the impression that it is combining the tropes of horror fiction with looking for a job, and you might imagine it's probably sort of done with satirical intent. Having played it, I'm not sure the satirical intent is as much there as that blurb would suggest, but I think that's what the intention seems to be, at least from the blurb. It does say that the word count is 31,000 words, or approximately 31,000 words, which is really quite substantial. And it's got 2 semi-unique endings. That's a ratio that perhaps seems a little bit worrying to me. 31,000 words is going to take quite a lot of time to get through, even if there's a lot of words per page, and spoilers, there isn't really. It's very visual, which is nice. And yet there's only 2 possible endings. That's not necessarily a deal breaker. You could use Twine to write a board game, and the board game only would have 2 endings. You either win or you lose, perhaps, or maybe 3 if there's draws possible. And yet that wouldn't be a problem. But it does say that it's a narrative-based game, and that sort of might create a worry. I'll just turn down the. Oh, here we go. It's loading. Sorry, I started loading it before I started the video because it takes a bit of time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It does. It takes a lot of time because it's got a lot of assets. It's got music and pictures, and that's quite a good thing. You can see from the little thumbnails here, and you'll see more in the game itself, that the art style is quite good. I believe the art was all done with an AI art generator, but whoever did it has managed to create quite a consistent style. They reminded me of lino cuts, perhaps, or woodcut, or maybe woodcuts. Probably more lino cuts than woodcuts. That very sharp distinction between sort of black and white and very little or no shades of grey, other than by sort of very finely delineated line work. And it works quite well. It gives the impression that they were all done by the same artist, or that the people, at least that the people who did it were sort of striving towards a single effect. So I think they did really well there. But let's play the game, and I'll just play it in the browser. So we've got, I quite like this logo as well. You've got a sort of human, and then there's a devil on the other side of the crack. But let's make this full screen. It'll probably be a bit easier for you to see. There we go. Okay, so we'll go a lot. Okay, so it's got a whole playlist. Let's make it's got a slider too, which is quite nice. I should implement one of these on my own game, but anyway. All right, so I'll put the music down a little bit, and let's play. Okay, so this is a variant of the blurb. So stats-wise, you have willpower 100, and then you have meek, neutral, and repressed. That seems to be how you always start. It doesn't seem to have sort of character creation as such. It seems like you always start with that with those stats. But anyway, when did you open your eyes? When did you arrive here? 5 minutes, 5 years, a lifetime ago? It's impossible to tell. Your mind wandered again. You have a bad habit of that. And still you're stuck in this waiting room. It seems all you can do is sit and be patient while observing your surroundings. Hint, click on items in the game world to interact with them. All right. So as we move over here, particular things sort of invite us to click on them. The man stares blankly at you and then back down at his own ticket. Oh, okay. Instead of numbers, this clock seems to have indecipherable symbols. Your eyes are probably just tired. A curious clock. The clock appears to be running both backwards and forwards at once. Your boredom is probably just getting to you. Okay. I have to say, that's not what I would call interacting with objects. This is a bit of a, well, perhaps it's a pet hate of mine or a criticism of mine that I've made before. I don't see a lot of point in having sort of, there's an object and you click on it. I mean, this is a bit different because it does give you other options, but and now I think once we click that, we can't go back, which is a bit of a shame. I'm pressing escape. Oh no, that just takes us out of full screen. All right. Okay, so once we click that, it looks like we can't go back and interact with anything in the sort of main room, which I thought was a bit of a flaw. But anyway, so we click on here, and we go for coin, and we click on this one, and it tells you about the envelope. I remember having problems getting out of this the first couple of times I played it. In fact, the person who wrote the game had to sort of tell me what to click to get out. Okay, so that might be a number being called. There's a faint clicking sound. Perhaps the door has been unlocked. Okay, well, we can click on the door to go to the next scene. Okay, well, my comment about not having shades of grey was inaccurate. That's how I remembered it. This one certainly has lots of grey, so maybe my memory of what the thing looked like was wrong. But I still think the artwork's quite good, and I think it hangs together quite well. But at this point, I think you might have spotted what my main criticism was going to be. I'll just okay. So you have to enter your he and his. Let's do that one. This one doesn't seem to want it. There we go. Oh. God damn it. Sorry, that's not a fault of the game, that's just me. Alright, see? I'll just fill this one out and then I'll oh, okay. Okay, I might leave it there. Oh my goodness. How do I get out of the game? Sorry, I don't know how to stop, how to sort of escape out of the game. So I'm just going to shut. I'll just reload it, I think. Okay, so I think that's not anything like, you know, most of the game, right? So this isn't a full review. I didn't get through anything like 31,000 words, but I am starting to see how you can have 31,000 words and only have 2 semi-unique endings. It didn't feel like I was making choices that changed what was happening. It felt like I was clicking on objects to get a description of the object, and then it felt like I was clicking on things to sort of open doors and get to the next bit of the story. And it sort of felt like the person who made this had a story to tell. It feels to me like the person had an idea of this narrative of what happens to this person and all of the things they go through, and wanted that to be what happens to the player. But the trouble is, that's not so much a game. That's just sort of that's really basically just telling you a story. I mean, you have a little bit of wiggle room in that you can look at. If you're in a corridor full of posters, you can look at the posters before you open the door, or you can ignore the posters and just open the door. But that's not really what I would call interactive, right? That's not really using the sort of most interesting, the most interesting part about games like this is that you can make choices and then different things happen. And hopefully the things that happen are sort of follow logically from the choices. But even if they don't, you know, even if you just, are you going to sit here or read the newspaper or look at the fishbowl, and looking at the fishbowl somehow makes you die? Even that can be, you know, even that can be fun. Just trying to sort of explore the consequences of the different choices within a game/story. That can be useful, and I don't feel like that's what this game. Not useful. I mean, it's not useful. It's just an amusement, isn't it? But I mean, it can be useful to allow people to do that in the sense of achieving the end of making an engaging game. I don't feel like this game did that. I feel like this game wanted to tell a story, a single story. And I feel like the interactivity was a little bit tacked on, which is a shame because the presentation is really good. I don't think they made the music themselves, but they hunted down the music themselves, and they generated the art themselves. And I know from personal experience that for every one that they kept, there's probably several that were rejected because they didn't look right. It's actually quite a time-consuming process generating AI art. It's not just you press a button and then all your art's done for you. And I think they managed that side of it quite well. But I think the core of a choose your own adventure style game, if I can call it that. Sometimes people call this stuff interactive fiction. I find that title maybe slightly pretentious, but either way, right? The point of it is interactivity. The thing that makes it fun is interactivity. The thing that makes it fun is that you have options and you choose one of the options, and what happens in the story is very different. And sometimes that can be completely arbitrary, and you're just sort of pressing buttons and pulling switches to see what happens. Sometimes it can be kind of logical, and it's like a puzzle, and you're working it out, and that can be interesting too. But even if you don't do that, having different outcomes, and for all I know, that's what happens in the rest of the game. I only looked at the very beginning, but it certainly doesn't start that way. It doesn't start by having lots of options, and I think that's a shame because they were prepared to put in, they were prepared to write 31,000 words to make this thing happen, and I think it would be something that you'd want to come back to more if maybe each time you played you only got 1,000 or 2,000 words. There were 31 different outcomes, right? If the 31,000 words were not stacked in a line and you get to see all of them on the first playthrough, if instead you had to sort of explore and there was 31 different things that could happen to you, that would be a better use of the effort that they were prepared to put in, and the ability to make a sort of what's the word? The ability to make a good presentation. To have music and art and words that all sort of fit together and work together and create a particular atmosphere. So that's my review. Not quite a review. That's my impressions of it. That's my impressions of the beginning of the game, really, is all I can say. Let me know what you think. If you've run this game, or even if you're the person that wrote the game, you might want to respond. Let me know in the comments. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.